Friends, welcome to another edition of SBG News and Views. I'm your co-host, Robert Imbriali. Lewis may or may not join us today. I know he's got a lot going on. He's, as you know, Lewis, he lives life with his foot on a gas pedal, and it's all the way down to the metal pretty much all the time. I don't know that the man even sleeps sometimes, but he gets a lot done, and he's doing a lot to make waves in our society. We've got a special interview today. We've got a very special guest that I want to introduce you to. You've actually met her before. We've had her on the show before, and we're going to have her back many more times. Cristin Ludlow is joining us today. She's the National Vice President of Pet Club 24/7. You know, we talk about Pet Club 24/7 all the time. I talk about Thumper, and Lewis talks about his dogs, and you know, we're huge fans, and you'll find out more about that as we go on today. But I wanted to bring her on because she's also writing a book, and she's going out on more speaking tours. This woman's got a lot going on. So let me introduce you. Cristin Ludlow is with us. Cristin, hello.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
Oh, awesome. You look great. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love your guys' show so much.
We get that a lot. A lot of people really do love the show because it's a little bit different. So thank you for that. It's heartwarming to hear those kind of comments. So I really appreciate that. We should get started today. You are, people don't know, it's like, oh, you're the National VP of Pet Club 24/7, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that I think is probably less spoken about is you're also a patriot. And we work with a lot of different companies. We get asked to work with many different companies, and we decline pretty much everything. Like 95% or more of the companies that people ask us to join, we decline. And a lot of times we find that they're either woke or they're too far off to the other end. And it's like, and they don't want to support a show like ours because, my gosh, we're telling the frickin' truth. How could you get away with that in today's society, right? That doesn't make any sense. So what we want to do is we would talk a little bit about what's going on in the news, and you had mentioned something just before we're getting started here about the FDA, the revolving door of the FDA. What do we know about what's going on here?
Oh my goodness. Well, another thing a lot of people don't know is I'm also certified in pet nutrition. And so as I've learned more nutritionally about the value of that, I've also learned more about the opposite end of what we're all experiencing with the FDA and big pharma and everything that's going on there. And just recently, I discovered that the former vice president of Monsanto is now the current deputy commissioner of the FDA.
You can't make this stuff up. Oh
Like,
my
well, so
gosh.
wait, like Monsanto, a company that we all know is known for poisoning the foods, not only that we eat, but particularly our children. A lot of these little snacks that people give to their children. That same person is now the deputy commissioner of the agency that's supposed to protect us from companies like Monsanto. And not only is that bizarre, but it's legal. You know,
Yep.
it's a pattern that we're seeing over and over and
Yep.
over. Like you mentioned earlier, it's a revolving door. And it's kind of one of those things where you stop and you look at it and you go, "Oh my goodness, we have to remodel the system, man. It's so rigged against us. It's so they're criminal geniuses is what they are."
They're
And
supposed to
they
be, right? The FDA is supposed to be the one who holds the line and supposed to protect us from the ills of big pharma. And since we know, and it's been years that it's been this way, it's the same people. You know, they get their position in big pharma, or they're in the FDA, and when they leave, then they get a position in big pharma, a cushy job, but they don't have to do anything. By the way, they get the big title, the big salary, they get the house, they get the driver, the car, all the rest of it. But they have to do their time at the FDA and allow things to go through. So a lot of the
Yep.
drugs and things that are approved, aspartame is probably one that's on the top of my mind more than any. The reason that got approved way back when, it was already in 5,000 products, and it would have caused too much disruption in the marketplace for them to have pulled it. So aspartame, as you know, later became renamed as NutraSweet. Now they've got new names for it. And when it goes into the body, it breaks up, and there's a component of wood alcohol in there that goes past the blood-brain barrier. And people say, what? Yeah, your Diet Cokes and all the rest of that stuff. We've been drinking this stuff forever.
Yeah, sugar free, right?
Sugar free.
So much better for you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. And the way that they're able to now turn all of these elements in, to adjust the size into nanoparticles so it can break the blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
It's shocking. I just saw a recent study on aluminum and how aluminum is in a lot of the shots, and the body cannot get rid of it, so it's going through the blood-brain barrier and it's accumulating in the brain.
Yep.
And they're even starting to look into that might be part of the, we know there's a lot of things involved, but that might be contributing to the rise in dementia and Alzheimer's and those types of conditions, is all of this aluminum accumulation that's getting into the brain that the body can't get rid of it once it's in there. And this is all foreign. This is not natural amounts of elements or minerals that we're just naturally eating in our foods, injected into bloodstreams. It really is concerning. We see this with pets too. My thoughts on it. And for me, I've always thought of it more as like a common sense thing. Like, okay, so we're definitely going to inject elements of this condition into the pet, into the body of our pet, that the pet may or may not get in their lifetime. And if they do develop this condition, they may or may not perfectly recover from it, you know? And so we're like definitely giving it to them for something that they may or may not get and something that they may or may not recover from. It just blows my mind, instead of just giving them natural immunity. And then if they maybe get it, they have a better chance of recovering from it because we've built their natural immunity. The whole thing, it's so crazy.
It is,
It frustrates
Cristin,
me. Angry.
one of the things, I'll interrupt you just for a moment. One of the things that we know is the skin is a barrier, right?
Mhm.
And it's part of the immune system. It keeps the bad stuff out. And yes, we have stuff growing on our skin. That's sort of normal. We have bacteria and stuff that grows, and it keeps the bad guys out. And one of the things that I was taught way back, this is 1995 when I first got exposed to this with my mentor, the big guy, real tall, big teeth, bad attitude, Tony Robbins. That's him. Uh, yeah, I was being sarcastic, just in case people are wondering. Yeah, I know exactly who my mentor was. Yeah, so one of the things he did is he spent. We were supposed to end the fourth day of the seminar. It was supposed to end like at 2 in the afternoon, and it didn't end until after midnight.
And allergies and all these issues that our pets are dealing with, there's not a direct correlation with the rise of it happening in nature.
Right.
So that tells us 100% it's environmental. We're doing something is happening to these animals that's not happening to animals in the wild, that's creating such a drastic increase in these numbers. And it's frustrating because there is a portion of it that is genetic. There are some animals that are actually allergic to a specific protein in this or that,
Hmm.
but it's few and far between. And there's a really good documentary I always recommend people watch called Pet Fooled. And they took a look into the pet supply industry, and they found that overwhelmingly the majority of these conditions are stemming from exposure to the foods, treats, and toys and accessories that our pets are chewing on and ingesting. That's what's causing almost all of these problems. And if you look at all of the major pet food brands and treat brands, over 90% of them are manufactured by only 3 companies: Mars, Smucker, and Nestle.
Wow. Candy companies,
Candy
literally.
company, literally.
Wow.
And then we wonder why they have all these conditions. There's sugars, there are animal byproducts, which are unclean meat sources that could animal byproducts could include euthanized animals, animals that are too sick for human consumption, all get sold to pet food manufacturers at a discount. But people don't know this, and they don't have to tell us this. They're not required to let us know what these things mean. Even if we do read the labels, we don't know what a lot of the things mean. And so we see the same thing that's happening with humans is happening with pets, but it's more problematic with pets because what's happening on the human end is they're trying to keep us sick enough to be dependent on their systems and their solutions and their treatments, but well enough to still kind of be productive in society and do the things that they don't want to do, keep society running.
Yep.
Well, with the animals, what do you do when you lose a pet?
Oh, you got a whole industry now of pet funerals and all kinds of things, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're our best friends. They're our
Yeah.
babies. Like a lot of people treat their pets better than
Oh
themselves.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
really are like angels sent from God therapeutically to help us and give us unconditional love. And they really do ground us and help us. And there's so many therapy animals and with horses and dogs and cats, it's proven. And so when we have 50 years ago, golden retrievers living on average to 17, 18 years old, today they're living on average to 9 years old,
Whoa.
only 50 years later. And when we have that pet for those 8, 9, 10 years and we lose them and we fill that void, what do? We get another pet. We try to replace it and we try to, get that feeling back. And so in their minds, pets are more replaceable. So that's why they're passing at younger and younger and younger and younger ages. They're selling twice as many pets. They're selling twice as much food. They're selling twice as many, treatments and medications. And,
Yep.
it's marketing. Like it's all about getting money and, adding sugars to everything. So our pets will get addicted to it and then overeat it. So then we'll go to the store and buy twice as much as what they actually need. It's a whole cycle, it's a whole loop that they have going on. And over 50% of our pets are really suffering unnecessarily because of it.
Wow.
That's 1.65.
Wow.
It's bad. And we see it
Wow.
happening with people too. It's just we got to push back. I mean, we could talk about it all day and we can talk about the numbers and we can complain about it and we can get mad at these companies and protest and we can ask the people in power to change laws or rewrite things or do things differently, but at the end of the day there's just this huge diffusion of responsibility where everybody's waiting for somebody else to solve their problems, and we're all talking about it and complaining about it and waiting for somebody else to do something about it. But really today we have a lot more power than we had 50 years ago. Even 20 years ago we have a lot more power today because we can get educated, we have access to more information and resources. And I heard a crazy thing that a 5-year-old today has access to more information than the president of the United States had 30 years ago.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, that's
Yep.
crazy.
Well, you got that little device in your hand. You have the world at your fingertips, literally, right?
Yeah, my mom and I always joke because we will get into a conversation about something and we'll be like, oh, what was that thing? Or, hey, when did this happen? Or who was that person? And then my mom will always say, if only there was a device that we could just ask our questions to and it would tell us all the answers. We just start laughing.
Oh,
But it's so funny that all of this stuff has been happening. And this is part of why I love your show and I love what you and Lewis and a lot of patriots are stepping up, and we're gonna stop waiting for other people to fix things and change things, and we're all working together. We're pooling our resources, we're pooling our knowledge and our information and the intel, and just all that we're getting, we're sharing it among each other so that we can all make better informed decisions. And people are really starting to be more intentional with where they're spending their money and who and what they're supporting, because we realize this is a battle that we can fight with our own dollars,
yeah.
by being more
Yeah.
intentional where we're spending our own dollars can make a difference. Because every dollar that I spend to support this good company or this good cause is not only a dollar that goes toward them, but it's also a dollar that I'm taking away from the other agenda that doesn't have our best interest in mind. So that's a part of the beautiful thing that's coming out of everything that we're experiencing right now, which is just pure and utter chaos. Is that people are waking up and we're no longer blindly a part of the system anymore. We're beginning to be more aware and more intentional and working together and sharing our own resources instead of depending on these systems again that were not designed for us. They were designed to benefit other people.
You
We're
brought
just
up a
little
couple of
pawns.
Yeah, you brought up a couple of good points there, and it is true in the news business and media. It's true in the pet food business. It's actually true in the regular food business. It's also true in the supplement business. When you start to look at, where the changes are going to take place, it's like we had been taught through our schooling to obey authority, right? You were in school, you were lined up, and you listened to the teacher. When the teacher said you go to the bathroom, you can go to the bathroom. If you have a question, you have to ask permission to ask the question, right? We that's the way we were brought up. We were brought up into a system so that we could be integrated, and we had this idea that, well, if it comes from authority, it must be true. And we look
Right.
at doctors like that. We raise them up way higher than they need to be. We look at our politicians like that. Well, maybe not so much today, but certainly in that generation. And if you look at news media, it's the same thing. It's like, wow, it looks so polished, and they're looking right into the camera, and these people are so serious. Do you know they sign contracts that they're actually actors? That they actually don't do anything with the content that they're presenting. They are told, here's your script, and they read the teleprompter. They're not
And what
journalists.
No, because remember the news not that long ago, they would tell you what is happening, and then you would decide how you feel about what's happening, right? They
We
literally
report, you
would just
decide.
tell
Remember that tagline?
you this is happening. Yes,
Yep.
this is happening. And you would feel, or come to your whatever conclusions you came to. It's completely opposite now. They're not even telling us what's happening. They're telling us how to feel about what they say is happening, and then we have to go figure out what's actually happening.
And
They've
sometimes they tell
totally
us what's happening that didn't even happen. That's
a
that's
lot
what's
of times.
going on. Literally, that's what's going
A
on
lot of
today,
times.
right?
That's why I love these citizen journalists that will be at a location, and they'll have the TV screen on, and they'll be like, this is what they say is happening, but they're live streaming, and they're like, I'm here and this is not happening. This is what's actually happening. This is what they say is
Yep.
happening. I love that whole movement.
Yeah, well, I've been in the media for my in and out my entire career because of the photography, video background, that kind of thing. And I was at 19 years old. I was in Montreal. I was at a apartment building that was burning, and it was quite an intense fire. And here I am at 19. I point the camera at the building, and the third floor is collapsing into the second floor. I'm getting pictures of that. Of course, black and white film back then. Nobody had camera phones. I was the only one there with a camera, so I get that. And then I turn over, and there's a fireman on his knees, consoling a little boy who was just like lived there, obviously, and he was just inconsolable. And I was like, wow, that's a great image. So then I went to, at the time, the Montreal Gazette, which I think is still publishing today. I ran up to the newsroom with my photos and gave them my contact sheet and said, "Here are all the photos I got," thinking absolutely they're going to take the one with the fireman,
Yeah.
with the little child, because that's really the story more than it is the building. The building burned, we'll replace it, no big deal. Nope. They took the one with the third floor collapsing to the second floor with all the flames and the smoke and everything coming up, and they said, "That's the story we're going with." And I asked the news director, I said, "Why?" He says, "Because we got to sell newspapers." And that's the media, right?
Yeah, pointing out the fear instead of the
Mm-hmm.
inspiration
Yep.
during the fear.
Yep. And I left that role after that because I felt, who the hell am I at 19 years old to be making these decisions, right? Depending on where I point the camera is what the story is
Yeah.
going to be told. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. So I got into architectural photography, studio photography products, and then eventually into video from there. But it was just like, and now I'm full circle. I'm back into the media again. I guess it's in your blood. You can't get away from it.
Yeah. But now you're back in the right kind of media,
Yeah.
though. That's what's
Yeah,
cool is
I got
that
nobody
that we're
telling me what to do. Lewis and I are symbiotic. We it's funny because sometimes I'll finish his sentences or he'll have a thought and he'll say, "Hey, I'm thinking about this," and it's like, "Yeah, I was thinking the same thing." I'm like, bang, like that. It's like this is crazy how in alignment we can be.
It's well, what's really crazy, and I thought about this during everything that happened. I thought that it was so crazy that the news was telling us these things, teachers, doctors, celebrities, like you said, all of the people that were in all of the areas of authority, all the pillars of society were telling us one thing, but there's this group of us that for whatever reason, intuition, instinct, whatever it is, we're like, I have some questions, like we just didn't buy it, even though everything was telling us that this is what's happening. And it's so crazy to me to think that. inside each of us, there is that intuition, or there is that instinct, and we didn't talk to each other. We were all isolated. We were all
Yep.
in our homes. We were, everything was being censored. The information that was being given to us was very closely monitored. But all of us, independently of each other, with no one telling us, this information not coming from any area of authority, felt the exact same way and had the same ideas and the same questions. And so that really always has fascinated me, that we can be so connected, even when they purposefully try to disconnect us, and we can still have access to that truth, even when they're purposefully trying to hide it or manipulate it. Isn't that interesting?
It is. And when we're born, we are extremely intuitive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Very much so. Newborns and young kids are. And then what happens is our parents train us out of it. Our school
Mm-hmm.
trains us out of it. And you get away from being able to trust your intuition because you don't even know it's there. But it is one of the most powerful forces we have access to. And we have access to it all the time. And here you are going through life, trying to live by the rules, but the rules are against your gut feeling. And you're right. It's like we will feel if we take the time and stop and listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll hear the guidance, and we'll get the right directions to go. So many people who really discover their intuition for the first time, they're blown away. Guys will say, "Oh, I have a gut feeling about this." Well, that's your intuition speaking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what a gift, and that's another thing we discovered throughout all of this, is that we're all deeply connected,
Yep.
in
We are.
ways that people don't even know. With our company, we work a lot with mushrooms, and there's a great documentary called Fantastic Fungi. As you can tell, I like to watch a lot of documentaries. I don't even know how many I've said just during this, but it talks about how there's this whole like mycelial network in the ground, and the trees are all communicating with each other and sending impulses to each other and sharing resources and minerals, and plants are sharing all of this through this mycelial network in the ground. And I'm like, it's just amazing when you learn, when you break free from all that programming, like you said, all that conditioning that's been done, and you start to remember how everything really is actually designed, and all that we have access to, in other realms, really, that we have access to all of that. So now that we're all discovering it, it's just the coolest feeling. We're like, oh my goodness, we have more power than we thought we did, you know?
Well, you said it right. You said, there's a lot of chaos right now, and anytime we have change, it's always preceded by chaos, right?
Mhm.
Think about moving, right? Is it a little chaotic when you're moving? Oh, we're going to be so firm. I got a system. I'm going to, yeah, right. That goes out the door as soon as the moving van arrives. You know what I mean? So all change is preceded by chaos. It's just part of life. And this chaos right now is actually a necessary step to
Yeah.
get us to, what we've been wanting for so long, what we've been intuiting, what we've been manifesting. Is a better life, and we're going to get rid of a lot of these. I can't see the FDA continuing. I can't see that whole thing in big pharma with the lies that they told. Wow, wow,
Yeah.
they've got a PR problem, major, which is good, which we want that to happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know young people, we have a gentleman with cystic fibrosis, that same thing. He's just like only 30 years old. And he got to the point where he's like, I don't care. I want to have a future, but it's not a future if I'm going to feel like this, if I'm going to have to live this way for the rest of my life. I'd rather just let nature take its course.
Right.
And he just completely stopped taking all of his medications that he had been on since childhood. And, gratefully, though, he started eating foods like the mushrooms I was talking about. He started, turning to the natural options and quit putting all the chemicals and the medicines and the things that are foreign to the body, that the body doesn't even know how to process.
Correct.
We have ancient bodies that we're trying to put all this new technology and all these foreign, it doesn't know how to process that. That's why it's just constantly trying to eliminate it all. And we just keep putting it more back in. It's like, no, I'm trying to get it out, But he's doing fine today. He made a complete recovery from it. And now he doesn't have to take any of those medications. But it's like, goodness, how many people have to go through this? Like, how much longer do we have to keep repeating the same thing? What does Einstein say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right.
Well,
Yep.
it's like, how long are we going to keep repeating this before we're, like you said, now we're manifesting collectively something so much better systems, sovereignty, more and they're paying them in clever ways. Not only are they getting bonuses, but they're like, hey, we'll cover your school costs that it took you to become a veterinarian or whatever it is. So, I'm the biggest proponent of just natural immunity. I think God has given us everything that we need growing abundantly out in nature. And like you said, out in nature, the animals are not dealing with the same conditions that we're dealing with when they're living in our homes, and we're providing everything for them. They have everything that they need, and they're far more sick than any animal out in the wild a
Yeah,
lot of times.
they are.
And so it's because out in the wild, they're eating natural foods, berries, grasses, natural meat that hasn't been hormoned and steroided and antibiotic and fed all these grains and everything. They're eating pure, clean meat out in the wild. And so they don't have these problems, and their natural immunity is really, really high. And not only is their natural immunity high and they're eating cleaner, but they're also not exposed to all of the chemicals. And we don't think about what we clean our floors with. What are we cleaning with? All the chemicals. What are we putting in our yards that our pets are stepping on? It's being absorbed directly into their bloodstreams through their paw pads and their noses and their tongues. You mop your floor with like a Swiffer wet jet or something, and then you put some food on that same exact floor for your pet, and now they're licking up all that residue, all the chemicals that are left behind from cleaning the floor. We just don't think about these things. We all know how poor the water quality is. We all know how poor the air quality is right now. It's getting pretty bad now, water quality. I'm very, very concerned about that. We teach people to feed their pets or to give their pets purified water, because that's causing a lot of problems too. But like we were saying, keeping their natural immunity as high as you can, keep trying to feed them as cleanly as you can, giving them access to the resources that have ancestrally been available for them is always going to be their best bet. And when their body's not being bombarded by all of those toxins that are going in through their mouth and also being injected to them, and in through their bloodstreams and everything, then their own natural means, then if their own, we've seen puppies with parvo that made complete recoveries just using natural, supplements, just feeding them the right immune supporting foods. And they didn't have any antibiotics, they didn't have any medications, and they made a complete recovery. So even in the most detrimental cases, natural immunity is the way to go. I'm a huge proponent of that. That's what I do with my own pet. Of course, use your own judgment, follow your own discernment.
Follow your own
But
intuition. That's the way to put
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to tell other people what to do. I just like to share with people what we're finding, and recommend what I do. I suggest what I do just because we've seen so much better results. It's awful when your pet feels sick, or, when they're suffering unnecessarily. That's literally the worst pet parent feeling ever, because you feel so helpless.
I know.
You
Yeah.
want to be able to take it away from them, and you just want them to feel good. You don't want them to struggle. And it's disheartening when you find out that a lot of the reason why they're struggling is because there are people recommending these things that are awful for them and so horrible for them. So yeah, the closer we can get them to natural immunity, the better it is for them. And then that's also better for you, because it gives you the peace of mind, at least, of knowing I've done everything within my power. I've done everything that I know to do to give them the best life possible, because they're completely dependent on us.
And prevention is the way to go. I think a lot of people will hear some of this conversation. Sometimes the way we talk about it on the show, the Food from Pet Club 24/7, we talk about, the animal's sick, and a lot of people, well, my animal's not sick. Well, you kind of know if he's not sick or she's not sick. You're going down that pathway of feeding them commercial foods. We pretty much know the outcome there. The outcome's not positive. It's not great. They won't live quite as long, you want them around as long as they can be around, and you want them to be healthy, because vet bills are not
Yeah.
cheap. We've known that.
No. Yeah, it's so much smarter to be preventative. And, I always say it's better to be proactive than reactive,
Correct.
because if you're proactive, then you don't have to get to that point then where you have to make those hard decisions. We know people refinancing their homes to pay for treatments and surgeries and stuff for their pets that all could have been avoided. It all could have been avoided if they would have known. And it's not their fault. We're all being tricked. We're all being lied to. We're all being manipulated through false advertising, through false marketing. It's very loosely regulated industry because there's a lot of money in it. People don't understand how big the pet supply industry is. It's a $124 billion industry.
Wow.
And to put that into perspective, the beauty, skincare, and weight loss industries combined are not $124 billion. So it's a huge money making industry for them. And and people are showing us what's important to them by, where they're spending their money and who and what they're supporting. They're showing us that by where they're spending their dollars.
Yeah.
So we gotta be smarter. We gotta be proactive. We gotta start redistributing the resources. Quit giving our money to these bad actors, man. Let's be thoughtful. Let's be intentional with where we're spending our money and redistribute these resources into good people's hands that will really start to implement positive change on a local level. That's very, very important.
Let's dig a little bit into the thinking of the products, because the products are rather unique. They're for the pets, and you have food for cats, dogs, and now horses, and also humans, which is interesting.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. The mushroom, it's called the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. It's so important that every pet, every person is getting this mushroom into their system every day just to get that immune support, and I don't know if you've seen this, but it's like all over social media, and mushrooms are a big craze right now.
Right.
And it's the thing that I love because we need to understand the importance of them and all of the wonderful properties and benefits that we knew thousands of years ago. The ancient Egyptians were using this mushroom. It was called the mushroom of youth. The Chinese used it, called it the mushroom of longevity. So they've known this. They've been using it for thousands of years. But like you said, we've moved away from that. We've been reprogrammed and reconditioned to turn to unnatural options or synthetic options. That can be patented, by the way.
Yep. And that's where the money is. If you can't patent it, you can't make any money off it, because anyone can put
That's
it on
where
the
the
market
money is.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as people are becoming more aware about mushrooms, now you see all these manufacturers and these, companies popping up saying that they have the mushrooms. And, a lot of times they're not pure strains, they're diluted, they're using fillers in the products. So we have to be really careful, with what brands we're choosing, even with mushrooms. And that's why I'm really grateful Pet Club 24/7 has really done their due diligence, and they have the most potent strain that you can get. They extract it in a proprietary way at the mycelial stage when it's a little baby. So it's very, very potent and so much more efficable. And that's why, we have people that tell us, well, we've been taking that mushroom and haven't seen any difference, but then they try the products from Pet Club 24/7 and they notice a difference within a week.
Wow.
And it really comes down to the potency of it,
Yeah.
So we originally had it only for animals, but because animals were making, like dogs, cats, horses, were just making these incredible recoveries from all different types of conditions, their own immune systems, and get rid of the autoimmune and the allergies and all the arthritis and all these different things that our pets were dealing with. So the pet parents were like, hey, can I eat these cookies? It's like, this is incredible what I'm seeing. So Pet Club 24/7 did make a little human section. So not only can we get that same pure and potent strain of the mushroom to help us feel better, but also the more energy we have, the more clarity we have, the better we feel, the better pet parents we can be,
Yep.
the better we can maintain our households and really, push back against everything that's happening. And so that's kind of how that all happened. But it's really cool. There are over 400 studies that have been done on this mushroom. So the science, everything's irrefutable. So we encourage people all the time, just give it a try. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain once the body has that natural support that it deserves.
And you must have stacks and stacks and stacks of success stories, because I know I'm
Yeah.
one, anymore. It's
Mhm.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, we see this all the time with pets, especially because they metabolize it really quickly.
Hmm.
Like most people notice within a week, they start noticing positive changes. People take a little bit longer, especially depending on what they're experiencing. But man, it's been thousands and thousands and thousands of testimonials across the board. And I mean, we
Yeah.
even have people have we have a product called Inforce, which are little capsules with the Coriolis versicolor mushroom in them. So you can pop them open and there's a powder inside. We have people that are adding it to their chicken feed, and they're feeding it to their turtles, you know, and their parrots and stuff. So it's really great being a part of this movement that's happening, that's bringing a lot of freedom, a lot of liberation to people. Like you said, we have people that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars in vet bills, or they're scheduled to have. We see this a lot: ACL tears, like
Yep.
ligament and tendon tears
Those
in
expensive
pets.
operations. Yeah.
$3,000 to
Yep.
$5,000
Yeah.
for the operation, but people don't know that the immune system is fully equipped to be able to repair and recover the body. It can actually repair and restore ligaments and tendons. So we have dogs that are scheduled, oh, they have this surgery in 2 months. I'm going to give them this to get their immune system strong so that they go into the surgery stronger. They get there for the surgery, and the surgeon's like, I don't need to do they do the pre-op where they look at it and make their little plan, and they don't even have to do the surgery. And they end up canceling the surgery because the body just repaired
Oh,
itself.
that's so awesome to hear.
People don't know what the immune system's capable of because we're not told that.
Yeah.
We go to the
Yeah.
doctor and they tell us what our blood pressure levels are and what our blood sugar levels are and what our cholesterol levels are. And they tell us all these areas where we're deficient so they can sell us the solutions for these symptoms and all of these problems. But really, there was a source, that there was a cause, like something happened inside of the body that created those symptoms in the first
Hmm.
place. And the immune system knows what it is, and it goes directly to the source of it and addresses it there. And then magically, once the source is corrected, then the symptoms are no longer there. Kind of like a check engine light on a car, right?
Right.
Like those are what symptoms are for our pets, and that's what they are for us. They just tell us something's wrong in the body, and that thing needs to be fixed. When our check engine light comes on our car, we don't just go shut it off. We do a
Oh, some people
diagnostic,
do.
and then all the gears grind up and the car doesn't work.
Yep.
But so it's just, they never tell us when we go to the vet or when we go to the doctor what our immune marker levels are, which those are measurable.
Yeah.
Those are actually measurable. They
Wow.
don't tell us what we can do to raise them. We actually can have a backup store of it's crazy. The body is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, I know I'm getting a little nerdy on you, but these are all things that we're just not told. And so we're constantly in a state of reacting all of our lives, living in fear, living in uncertainty, always reacting to everything, when, like you said, we could be proactive and then hopefully not ever have to make those decisions or get to those points where they become detrimental.
Where should a person start who's just looking at Pet Club 24/7? There's a lot of different products. What would you recommend they start with? Let's start off with for dogs, and then we'll go into cats.
Yeah. So for dogs and cats, for all people and all animals should be getting the Coriolis versicolor mushroom specifically into their body.
Okay.
So for dogs, we have the mush puppies, which are little biscuits. All of the treats are human grade, all natural, nothing synthetically sourced, all made and sourced in the United States, actually, which is very important. Sourcing is important. And so we have little dog biscuits called the mush puppies that are good for them. We have a handmade gravy called the super sauce for dogs and cats. And that's really good because it has additional vitamins and minerals and antioxidants in it. For the horses, we have little horse cakes called the mush ponies. Even if you have a larger dog, maybe with a more severe condition, because this mushroom's really safe. Like, it doesn't interact with any medications or treatments, can't get addicted, can't overdose, there are no side effects. As a matter of fact, especially if they're struggling with something, the more that you give them in the beginning, the better it is for their body, because it really helps to start building up that immune support. And so even if you have a larger dog with like a more severe condition, you can give them the mush ponies, and it will be more cost effective for people. I always recommend that. And then for people, we have the Enforce capsules, which is the green bottle. And we always recommend, it's always based off of weight. So for people, we recommend one capsule for every 50 pounds, just for general health and well-being. If you do have some health concerns, for example, I used to have an autoimmune disease that was pretty dramatic. I was having seizures and passing out and
Wow.
losing weight. It was really bad. Yeah, so if you do have health concerns that are not necessarily life-threatening, we recommend just taking 2 to 3 times that recommended amount until you get better. Then you can go back down to the one capsule for every 50 pounds. So I would take 3 capsules in the morning right when I woke up and 3 capsules at night right before I went to bed. And 5.5 months later, went back in for the blood test, autoimmune marker gone. Inflammation levels, which were at 522, were back below 1. never took any medication. They never even figured out what it was. I was just going through all the testing. So now
Yeah.
it's been for 4 years. I haven't even taken an ibuprofen. I've taken no medicine, not an allergy pill, nothing. It's fantastic. And then for people that are dealing with like very catastrophic or severe, maybe even life-threatening issues, we recommend 4 to 5 times that amount just to get started. And then as you start recovering, you can go down. But we've, like I said, you don't even have to take our word for it. We do have thousands of testimonials that you can have access to, but on top of that, there are over 400 studies where you can see what actual researchers are finding. They're all finding across the board the same things that we've been discovering for animals and for people as well. It's been studied for over 50 years, so there are a lot of studies done on it.
It's amazing that some people will be sitting here going, "Well, Kristen, this sounds too good to be true." And when you're indoctrinated into modern medicine, one of the challenges you have with their training, and this includes veterinarians as well, as one of the trainings that they have is they don't really talk about nutrition at all. They're not really given any knowledge there. What they're given is knowledge to match a symptom to a pharmaceutical. And that's what
Yes.
they need to do. And if you look at the doctor's office, the way modern doctor's office today, they have to get in and out within 7 minutes. That's their
Yeah.
goal. And what they do is they look at the symptoms and they know which drug, is designed for those symptoms. But all they're doing is covering symptoms. And when you said something really important here, is the symptoms go away when you look for the cause of the symptoms. Now, modern medicine does not do that because that's healing. They're not involved in healing. They're involved in symptom suppression. That's what they're
Mhm.
doing. They're suppressing the symptom. But it's like your check engine light goes on in the car and you take a piece of black electrical tape and you put it over it so you don't see it. That's what
Yeah,
Big Pharma's
exactly.
doing. You still got the problem though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, and I'd like to make this very clear. This mushroom is not a cure. It's not a cure for anything. It's not a medication. We always looking for cures, and there's not a cure for it. It's just a whole food. It's just a mushroom of no different from a mushroom you would eat on a salad. And it just feeds the immune system specifically and supports the immune system. And then the immune system is what goes in and it does all the work and cleans everything up and does everything. It's really amazing. So like you said, we have to reframe our thinking. We have to reframe the way that we think about things. And even in the natural world, we have a cabinet full of all these supplements that are intended for all these different conditions or symptoms, when really if you just support the immune system, it handles a lot of those things for you.
Wow. So true.
Yeah.
And the FDA said that only drugs can heal. You can't cure anything without a drug, which why we can't say, "Hey, this can cure anything." You're not allowed to say that. It's like if
Right.
you cut your finger and all of a sudden it heals, according to the FDA, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That can't happen. You didn't take a drug, it didn't happen. Crazy, but that's the world we live in. Yeah. You can go down to countries, I don't know if it's still the case, but you can go down to countries like Brazil and you can find supplements there on the cheese
Yes.
for whatever. They'll tell you what it's for. Here you just get the supplement and you kind of have to know, do the research apart from just buying that supplement to find out what it does. So it's a crazy world we live in, but we're making our way. We're making it
Yeah.
happen. And Cristin, you guys are doing such amazing work. For people who want to know how to get involved with Pet Club 24/7, here's my suggestion. If you haven't tried it yet, the link is in the description of the video. Click on the link. Depending on the channel you're watching, it's going to be a different link because we do get a small commission from recommending the company, and it helps us to keep the show on the air. What I suggest you do is go have a look, and like Cristin said, it's actually more affordable in some cases than it is to buy the junk that's on the market. Give it a shot. Give it to your pet. Try it for 30 days and see if you see a difference, then keep going. If you don't see a difference, well, maybe this wasn't the solution. But it's you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your pet to certainly give it a shot. Cristin, you are amazing. Thank you so much for being part of our show today.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you for having me on. And thank you guys for the work that you're doing. Like, it doesn't go unnoticed and unappreciated. We're so grateful for you guys. Thank you
Oh,
for all of the heart that you pour into this.
thank you so much, and we really appreciate that. Touches me right in the heart, where it's supposed to. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being part of our little family. Make sure you give us a like. If you like this, please share it with your followers and your friends. And we will see you back on Monday. Thanks for watching, everyone. Love you.